Hello, everyone. I'm Jacqueline Maddison, founder and editor-in-chief of Beverly Hills Magazine. I want to welcome you to the Beverly Hills Magazine podcast, where we're going to be interviewing your favorite Hollywood stars, celebrities, fashion icons, business entrepreneurs from restaurateurs, hoteliers, from all around the world. I just want to welcome you to the world of the rich and famous. Today's very special guest is William Graper. He's a celebrity fashion stylist, and I'm going to have him come on right now. Hi, William. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So I did a brief intro, but let me tell the guests a little bit more about you. Ladies and gentlemen, today's special guest is a celebrity fashion stylist who has created ensembles for today's hottest stars like Katy Perry, Billie Eilish, John Legend, and many more. He's also a contributor to Harper's Bazaar, W Magazine, and Vogue International. So, William, why don't we just get started with you telling us a little bit more about where you're from and how did you end up in the City of Angels?
Thank you so much for having me. I spent 13 years in New York as a fashion stylist. I moved there when I was 18 to go to FIT and really worked my way up the ladder and spent a lot of time assisting the right people. I went from interview to W Magazine to Vogue International before going out on my own. And so that decade plus in New York really set me up with the right network and the right experience to feel like moving to Los Angeles was the perfect next step. I needed a better quality of life and all of the sort of cliche reasons why people come to LA were waiting for me and calling me. So I came here and I just picked up where I left off. Although in LA, I find more people need personal styling. So a lot of VIPs out here I tend to work with. And that's been a really wonderful addition to my work as well.
Fantastic. I always think of that movie Pretty Woman where the guy says, you know, everybody comes to Hollywood with a dream. What's your dream?
Mm-hmm.
So tell me, when did you discover your passion for style? Were you a child, or was it something that happened?
I think my mother is such an exceptionally stylish woman. We grew up in Sarasota, Florida, which is kind of like one of the Beverly Hills of Florida, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
It's an affluent town with a lot of access to great clothing and it's just a certain lifestyle that I was raised up in with my mother, and she would wear Escada and St. John and all of these things that at the time were just so breathtaking.
Two of my favorites.
Yeah, and I have four sisters who were impeccably dressed. So from an early age, I really saw the power of fashion and what it could do to how people perceive you, how you light up a room, and how you express yourself through what you wear.
Absolutely. So who or what have been your inspirations in your styling career?
You know, it's interesting because I really looked up to magazines like W. When I was a kid, I would go sit at Barnes & Noble and I would read, just sit there and be enamored with the pages. And those were the most inspirational to me starting out. And then I think when I became a stylist and started working in that world, I became a little more inspired just personally by what I would choose to do if I were given these opportunities. So I started listening more to my own intuition around things. I remember being on set and being asked a similar question. It was like a women's lingerie story. And they were like, you know, how do you know what a woman might want? Or how do you know that you're going to choose this bra and underwear set, for example? And I always came back to, would I want to wear it? If I were a woman, would I want to wear this? And so that's always been the guidance for me along the way, to be sure that I was really proud of everything I put out into the world. If you love it, it will be timeless, classic, and I don't have a single image I've done over the years that I feel like, oh, I shouldn't have done that, because I always have stayed true to that.
Yeah, I love that. And I think it's so important that we listen to our inner voice, you know. It's given to us for a reason, so that we can manifest the gifts that are inside of us, you know, and ultimately our contribution to the world. So that's important. So tell me, William, and how do I pronounce your last name? Graper? I want to make sure I'm doing it, pronouncing it correctly.
Thank you. It's Graper.
Graper. Okay, nice. So what is your style philosophy?
Well, so I spent all this time building this career as a fashion stylist, and something about working with people directly one on one was missing for me. Creating a beautiful picture on the page or a celebrity wasn't feeling as real as I wanted it to be. It was now still very fantastical and fantasy driven.
Right.
So I'm really interested in where fantasy and reality meet, which is why I went back to school to get my master's at Pepperdine in clinical psychology, where
Oh,
I'm now transitioning into more of a life and style coach. So a lot of women here in Los Angeles and Beverly Hills specifically will call me to sort of help them with a closet overhaul or an overhaul of their image or their personal style, and we'll rework the things that they haven't worn in a while. And we kind of help create a style uniform for that person so that they can potentially shop less and shop better.
right.
And ultimately, it speaks to our values and how we feel about ourselves and how we want to present in the world. And as we age, that also changes. So people tend to call me when they're in that period of like, I need to let go of the version of the person that I was and find out who I am now and evolve with grace.
I love that. You're bringing purpose and meaning to a person's style and wardrobe ultimately, because we go through different experiences in life, and we some good, some bad, but nonetheless they transform us. So I love how you're sort of wanting to marry those emotional experiences we have as human beings and psychological as well with the representation we show to the world through our style choices. So that's
Right.
brilliant.
Thank you. Yeah. And it really came from women that I would work with here in their closets is a very vulnerable space. So that relationship gave me the confidence and courage to go back to school, because I'd hear often, you're really more of my therapist than my stylist. So I
Yeah,
really wanted to go to school to have the credentials to be able to help in a more meaningful way
yeah,
while looking amazing at the same time. But at the end of the day, that new Gucci dress is not going to change the fact that you're in a bit of a rut with your kids having just left the house and you're not sure what to do, or
right.
so we consume, hoping it's going to make us feel better. And temporarily it does. And I'm kind of here to say, like, let's find a deeper, more meaningful and lasting way to fulfill those places of ourselves. And then if you want
Yeah,
to still buy the dress, let's buy the dress. But
yeah.
let's do it consciously.
I love that. You're like a style doctor,
Yeah,
a style
it's
therapist. But
yeah.
it's good because for you personally, you're bringing more purpose to what you're doing as an individual, because you have the power to change people's lives, not only their wardrobes, but their emotional well-being. So I think it's wonderful,
Thank you.
that choice you've made.
Thank you. It's a passion of mine, and it couldn't have been any other way, because I love creating a beautiful picture and a fantastical moment for a woman out on the town. But that woman comes home and she takes the jewelry off and she takes the dress off and she sits at her vanity and she's applying moisturizer. And those are the intimate moments where she's like, I got to get out of this marriage, or I got to go back to
Right,
work, or
right.
my kid I'm really worried about. Like, I'm
Hmm.
really interested in what happens when that beautiful, well dressed woman takes everything off, and how that moment of vulnerability is just such a beautiful place that we all have inside of us, whether you can afford the fancy dress or not.
Hmm. Yeah, it's powerful, very.
I think so too.
So tell me, for you, how do you define style?
Well, I think style is such a personal thing, and if you are if you are fortunate enough to have a certain body type or to afford the right things, it's really easy to make yourself look really great pretty quickly with all the resources we have now. So I think unless we're doing it from a conscious place, you will never have a personal style. You'll just sort of be chasing a trend forever, which is what
Right.
the industry wants. They want
Yeah.
you to keep chasing things. I think what's happening now is we're seeing a shift to more essentialism and getting in touch with who we really are. So we're presenting in a way that feels authentic to us, because
Right.
more than ever, with all of us having access to social media and to presenting the best version of ourselves, people tend to fall in love with a version of us that isn't really who we are.
Yeah.
And so we don't really feel seen. We feel a little lonely. We have all these followers and friends, but we don't feel seen. So personal style for me is such a call to action that's beyond the dress you put on. It's really a person that's standing in the light of who they are. And
Yeah.
yes, they're well dressed, but they're radiating that. And the people you're attracted to are radiating this sense of effortlessness and confidence and ease
Yeah.
that you can't buy. You have to do the inner work and then shop the outer stuff. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. Like I'm a firm believer our external world is a reflection of our inner world. You know, the state of our relationships, our business, our car. I mean, our wardrobe, our style choices. So it's definitely a reflection of who we are, whether it's effortless or more modern and something a little more elegant and a high end, high fashion. You know.
Yeah, and I
So
think it's crucial we listened. Sorry to cut you off.
no,
I
no,
think
it's
it's so
fine.
crucial that we um, listen to who we are and what we're trying to say, so we're not comparing ourselves to other people who might look a way we think we want to look. And I
Right.
think oftentimes I hear from women like, "Oh, I really wish I could look like this person." And I always say to them like, "What do you think that person looks like?" And they'll list the values that they think they see in that person, like, "Oh, well, she seems confident, she seems fun loving." And then I'll ask them like, how confident do you feel in your life? How much fun do you feel you have in your life? Because
Mm,
we tend to project what we want on what we see. And
mm.
ultimately, the person who's wearing that outfit that might be quite over the top, that someone says, I wish I had the confidence to wear it, that person might be like a crazy person. Like, we have
Well,
no idea, you know,
the
so we
thing is
can't
this,
compare.
I think it's maybe the problem we face as human beings is we always think the grass is greener when we must take the time to water our own grass, and we'd be surprised at how the flowers bloom and blossom, you know, and we can enjoy the beauty and radiance of the garden of our own lives. And you know, obviously that's an analogy, but I hope you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
So if we as women can learn to see the beauty within ourselves, and you know, I was speaking to my best friend yesterday, and I told her, you know, love is the beauty of the soul.
Mhm.
And so when we grow in love, so our beauty grows. So I
So
think
true.
if we as women can learn to um, develop our inner selves, like you're saying, then we'll be less concerned with what others are doing or wearing or
Hmm.
how they look, and we can actually find our inner confidence and
Hmm.
our inner beauty,
Hmm.
which will manifest in everything we do.
Hmm. Yeah, and I love the spiritual approach to style. I think I tend to take school has really taught me to think behaviorally. So I like to think about, you know, I can meditate and get quiet and feel loving, but then I still am really confused on like how I want to present in the world. So I might
Mm-hmm.
feel calm, but I still don't know what that means.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to help women with very tangible things like that speaks to confidence. How do we build confidence in you through actionable items? So
Right.
you're helping people with more of like an action plan so that they're feeling the loving way, they're feeling confident, but they don't really know how to go out and like build it as a muscle.
Mm-hmm. I actually just learned from a book I read recently that to build your self-esteem, you must do esteemable acts.
For
And I
sure.
thought that was lovely for me, you know. So charity, for example, volunteering, giving back, you know, giving of our souls, giving of our love, giving of the intangibles can build our inner selves,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
know.
And COVID, I think, has really taught a lot of us that too in different ways that we wouldn't have otherwise experienced. I mean, some of the esteemable acts can be quite small. They can be making your bed, like picking up the pile of clothes you keep walking by that keeps nudging
So
at you to
true.
do. And so oftentimes a lot of us have people that do that for us and we don't make the bed and somebody else does. But for me, for example, I haven't been having a housekeeper because I haven't wanted anybody in my home. So I've been doing things that I wouldn't otherwise do that actually make me feel so good because they are esteemable acts. They don't have to be grand
Exactly.
gestures.
Absolutely. So yeah, I sort of I love that sense of accomplishment and achievement by
Mm,
doing things myself as well. You know, so I agree with you. So in terms of trends, as we spoke about, people are, you know, influenced by them so greatly. What is the biggest fashion trend right now, would you say?
Well, I think there's going to be a Pavlovian response to loungewear and sweats and athleisure that people have been wearing. I mean, LA has always been that way, but that's been such a trend for so long now because people are craving comfort. But I think this
Yeah,
period in time with people at home is really going to force people to want to dress up again
right.
because they will not want to be wearing the things that they wore during a global pandemic. You know, after World
For
War
months.
II, yeah, and after World War II, Dior created the new look because people needed to signify to themselves and the world that we are moving on from this and we need to
Right.
feel and look like we're in the next chapter.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I don't know what that is yet, but I do think that it looks like something a little more fun than we've had going on lately and a
Yeah,
little more dressed up than we had before.
absolutely. Yeah, I say any reason to dress up is a good reason.
Mhm.
For me, I would say one of the biggest trends I'm recognizing is faux fur.
Mm.
And I love it. I think that some faux fur designers are being just as innovative and creative without having to harm, you know, God's beautiful creatures. So I'm very happy about that.
Love that too. And I love that there's not a stigma around the faux fur wearing anymore because I think
Yeah.
what there was for so long was the idea that it's faux fur, you can't wear it. Now we're all embracing the sustainability and the ethical side of fashion. So
Well,
it's acceptable.
exactly.
In fact, I think more than
Well, and I
acceptable, it's
think
promoted.
100% because I think with our elevated consciousness, we're all learning to value life much more, and I think that's a beautiful thing. I think we should,
For sure.
from the smallest little creature to human beings, we're all in this together. We've all been given this beautiful gift of life, and I'm just a firm believer in live and let live.
And I think it's important to add to that for the audience that we have to take that same mentality. The brutality of fur, for example, is so pulls at our hearts because it's such a tangible thing, and we usually have a dog or cat in our home, so it feels
Right.
personal to us.
Yeah.
But shopping fast fashion is often just as tragic for the world. So I think it's really important people know that like where their clothing comes from is also just as important. And I don't like to use names and say like don't shop here, don't shop there because
Right.
everyone's doing the best they
That's good.
can, but getting
Mhm.
clear on where things are made and how they're made is an important part of being a conscious consumer right now.
Absolutely. So what is a must-have style item right now?
I've been asking myself that too because all of the women I shop for are not shopping right now. They're really not. So I honestly, it's been hair products that have been such a big deal. I feel like people are taking care of their hair in a different way because they haven't been able to have it cut. Um, I went into the store, one of the big department stores just yesterday for a client of mine, and there's nothing there right now. They're having trouble getting things in. So I'm like, what is the must-have item? This is the same item that was here in January. I don't know. So I think
Yeah.
we will see what
Right.
designers will actually continue to produce because what we are seeing is such a downshift in the amount produced.
Yeah.
So classic items you can wear forever, I think is what I always come back to and ask that question. Do you
Mm,
own a really great little black dress? Do you own a really great Alaya dress? Because like that's what I would invest in, you
yeah.
know, is a
Mhm.
dress you can wear for 20 years and still get a compliment every time like it's new because it's that classic.
I love that. That's a great one. A great must-have style item, the little black dress.
Yeah.
So tell me, what are some of your fashion tips right now?
Well, I
As
think
we kind of emerge out of this sort of pause, I think God kind of hit the pause button and everyone had to slow down and just kind of wait,
yeah.
but now I think we're going to start emerging and come back to life. And
Mhm.
so what would you suggest are some fashion tips for women to bring into this new life?
Well, I think we've touched on it a bit in terms of it's really about my philosophy, which is the main tip is to slow down and get conscious about what you're consuming in a
Yeah.
way that's not grasping at things you're not sure you really want, but to take the time to really see whether you need it or want it and whether it reflects who you're trying to be. So if you're trying to be taken more seriously in a situation, maybe you're not wearing the same kind of tight short dresses you were wearing, and really getting clear on that the way you are perceived is the way that you want to dress or they should link up, like the way
Right.
you want to be
Absolutely.
perceived. So I really think taking the time to see what you already own, rework it with someone like me or someone at your local department store is like I haven't worn this blazer in 10 years. I'm either going to get rid of it or I'm going to rework it now and see if it works for me now.
Right.
So I'm not a huge like tips and tricks person, because I don't know that I don't know that one size fits all in that
Mm.
department.
Uh-huh.
But what does work for everyone is getting really clear on who you are, what you're trying to say to the world, and does this dress reflect that?
I love that. And I'm also, for me, I like to practice out with the old, in with the new. You've got to
Mm-hmm.
make space for the new. And so if
Mm-hmm.
your chapters in life are shifting and changing, then you must make room to welcome what's going to be a part of that. And
Mm-hmm.
that includes decluttering the closet,
Mm-hmm.
your home, office. But it's just the philosophy behind simplifying and, like you say, making conscious choices.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, I love Marie Kondo, and she's become such a big influence for people to remove clutter. But I would say we have to take it a step further than, does this thing bring me joy or not? Because there's a million things in the world that bring me joy that I don't need to own or do.
Right.
So if it was just about what brings me joy, my home would be full. Like, so it's really about what is essential and what actually, does this bring me joy? And is this saying to the world what I wanted to say?
Well, and I think that's one of the biggest lessons I hope we've all learned during this experience is that we have been living with such excess,
Mm-hmm.
and we've had to, uh, like you said, just kind of appreciate the essentials or acknowledge what are the essentials. And I hope we can take the same mentality moving forward. So, because we living in the United States, especially Southern California, we are so blessed. We are
So
so
blessed.
blessed. And I think sometimes we can take that for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So now when we can recognize, I hope we can recognize how blessed we are, and just really shed that need for excess for good.
Mm-hmm.
I love the simple life. Things like singing birds and flowers
Me
and
too.
fruits are bring joy to my life. It's
Mm-hmm.
the simple things in life. And I think that if we can have this mentality and apply it to our consumption, our shopping, and everything, we'll find a lot more contentment.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
because less really is more.
it is. And the other side of the coin for that to me too is, I've studied a lot of Eastern religion and philosophy where there's kind of this sense of like success would mean rejecting items, rejecting the material world and all these things. So for a long time, I felt a lot of guilt and shame around the fact that I very much cared about the material world, and I very much cared about aesthetics. And I would
Mm-hmm.
feel like they were at war with one another. And what I realize is they can both exist, because we don't have to reject everything and not have nice things to be a spiritual good person. So I
Mm-hmm.
never want to give anyone that idea, and I always want to make room for people who still really like love buying nice new things, because
Yeah.
I'm with you. But if I get clear on why I'm buying it, then I might shop less. I may not, but I realize most of us are seeking comfort all the time. So
Yeah.
if we just get clear on like why we're up at 1 o'clock in the morning on Amazon, adding things to our cart that we don't need, it
Yeah.
might be that like we need to like meditate and go to bed, or take a bath and go to bed. Like just taking a beat.
So for me, so I'm a born again Christian, right? And there's also a false idea that, oh, if you're Christian, you have to be poor and you have to, not at all. God's promise for his children is to prosper us. He delights in the prosperity of his servants, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I've also had to find that balance between my old self before I was born again, where I was just super materialistic,
Mm-hmm.
and neglecting my spiritual self, with now kind of this new person that the Lord's transforming me into, to really nurturing my spiritual growth,
Mm-hmm.
primarily my relationship with God, but then also being able to accept his love and his blessing, which includes the best things in life, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Um, so similar to what you're saying, we can there is a happy medium.
Yeah. And God loving people drive Maseratis. It's not
Yes.
it's not an either or situation here. And I think that that's so important. But what I do think happens is when people slow down and reflect, and that's what this time has been. I've heard from so many people who have come from these enormous homes, and they were renovating the home. So the family went and lived in like a smaller guest house or in a rental, and they all go back to the big home going, God, we just had the best time in that little house together.
Right.
And it isn't about just having nothing, but it is about saying, like, is my home so big my kids feel alienated and like I'm so far away, I don't
Right.
see them, like, and they feel like they
Mhm.
can't come crawl in my bed at night. Like, do I want
Right.
to have an intimate relationship with my family, and
Yeah.
is this house
Yeah.
keeping me from that? Those are all personal questions, and there's no one size fits all of like a smaller home will do that, because plenty of people make it happen in a big home. It's just what's right for you.
Well, and I also always say, money cannot buy happiness, but it buys everything else.
Right.
And I love how you mentioned the importance of the relationships we have in our lives,
For sure.
because we can have all the material things, but to be truly wealthy and rich in life is to have richness in love and in compassion and charity. For me, charity is very important. I have a foundation, the God Foundation, where we support orphanages around the world, and it's just really getting back to that whole esteemable acts thing. But and it's transformed me as an individual to be able to give back and
Mm-hmm.
recognize how blessed we are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, eh, yeah, it's just wonderful.
And isn't that what we think we're doing? What I often find is people long for that connection with people.
Yes.
And charity and family is a great way to get it. And there's a lot of ways to get it, but a lot of people think they're going to get it through that dress. It sounds crazy, but
Mm-hmm.
people think I'm going to put this dress on, and then people are going to look at me a certain way that's going to make them want to come talk to me. And then they're going to talk to me, and I'm going to make friends. And then you project this idea of this dress onto a life you
Yeah.
want. So it's like slowing that whole thing down at the register, which is a hard time to do it, and
Yeah.
say, like, what do I think this dress is going to give me? Is it going to bring me that love and connection I crave so much? Or do I need to go out and get that in a way that's going to be a little harder than buying this thing? And
Right.
and
Yeah.
oftentimes
Or do
that's
I
what it is.
have to, instead of buying this, $5,000 dress, can I maybe apologize to this person that I have been holding a grudge to, and maybe
Exactly.
find amends there that can bring
Exactly.
peace to my soul, you know?
Exactly. Yeah. It's holding on to things and saying, my mom gave that to me. It's like, well, call your mother. This item is not
Yeah,
your mother.
exactly.
Like,
Hmm.
pull it apart. Let's see what this is about.
Yeah, and I don't want to be too idealistic. I know we have challenges in our relationships, and those are things that we have to experience that help us grow. And
Sure.
but ultimately, I think if we always act in love and in spirit, we can always bring that healing, which will ultimately heal our soul and bring us to that place where, like you said, we can make conscious decisions that are aligned with who we are, and that includes what we're buying,
Right.
and whether or not we truly need it, or is it a type of shopping therapy.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to circle back to that, because obviously you're a life and style coach now, bringing the psychological therapy element into your work. Now, you were inspired to do this. Now, have you discovered a purpose in what you do? Because I believe we're spiritual beings having temporary earthly experiences. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
I believe that we're all going to die. None of us are getting out of here alive,
Right.
and the body's going to return to dust. But I believe our spirits are eternal. And one of the most important things we're here to do is not only contribute, discover our gifts, use those gifts, and give back, but our purpose. Have you discovered your purpose, you think, in what you're doing yet?
Well, the transition into working with people one-on-one in this coaching way is much closer to the purpose that I think I
Yeah,
was trying to create through styling.
yeah,
Um, and the purpose really is to serve in the helping of another human being and their
yeah,
journey, while
absolutely.
acknowledging that we are material beings and not rejecting it. So I used to think I
Yeah.
needed to go live on a beach in Maui and be a Reiki healer.
Uh-huh.
Okay, I don't have to do that. We
Right.
can work within the world. Like, yes, if God gave me all these gifts to be a stylist, then I should use them and
Right.
find a way to be of service with them. And that is really why I have brought the two worlds together, because I think my purpose is to uplift, to inspire, to bring comfort to people, and to entertain. I think
Oh, that's beautiful.
those are
Yeah.
my purposes.
I love it. And yeah, and I think as we are all elevating in consciousness, is that we can uh, marry our spiritual selves, our higher selves, with what we're doing in the physical realm,
Hmm.
and have success in both.
Yes.
Finding that true balance of who we truly are. We are eternal spiritual beings, but we do exist in a physical world, and
Hmm.
when we find that balance, it's wonderful.
Hmm.
So where can listeners go to follow you, find you, learn more about you and your service, work with you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me directly on my new website that just launched, which is williamgraper.com. And my Instagram is at William_Graper. Either place are a great way to get in touch with me, schedule a consultation, and potentially work one-on-one if that's what people would like.
Fantastic. I love it. It's been such an honor to spend some time with you. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
Well,
you.
that's it, folks. I hopefully now you have a bit more insight into the fashion world. Now you have a life and style coach that you can contact, William Graper, directly. And as always, I want to thank you for tuning into the show, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye, everybody. Lots of love.